Ma'am, nakamute po kayo.
Okay.
How about, that's cultural integration. How about cultural assimilation naman? Yes, Makam Jessica.
Ma'am, yung cultural assimilation po, yun yung po yung parang opposite po siya ng integration po. Kasi po yung cultural assimilation, parang you adapt na po talaga yung culture ng ibang lugar na pupuntahan mo po. For example po, yung pupunta
Jessica.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because the key word in cultural assimilation is similar. You're making yourself similar with the host culture. And if you're making yourself similar with the host culture, then there should be no differences. There should be no trace of your origin. So you tend to forget the culture of your original place and then adapt holistically buong doon sa host culture natin. And then the third one is cultural accommodation. Let me hear from Melody Barolo.
Ma'am, yung cultural accommodation po is similar lang po siya sa cultural integration, pero meron po siyang two concepts. Yung two concepts na yun is yung public sphere tsaka yung private sphere. Kung pag sinabi po nating public sphere, yun po yung we are practicing others' culture within that place po. For example po, you are living here in the Philippines but you work in Japan. You practice their culture as it shows respect to their culture. On the other side, yung private sphere po is practice of your own culture po within your place. For example po, you came back here in the Philippines after working in abroad. You can now practice your traditional culture as you are now living here in the Philippines. Yan lang po, ma'am.
Okay, let me clarify on that matter. Let me rectify the second example. You are right on your example doon sa ating public sphere. You're manifesting or showing the behavioral or the practices of the people in the host culture or in the host place. But during the public sphere or private sphere, you are still there. It's not that home, kaya mo pinapractice yung original culture mo, nandoon ka pa rin. Pero yung tinutukoy natin sa private sphere, private, kapag ka ikaw na lang, for example, ang nakakita within your own boarding house, pero nandoon pa rin sa lugar na yon. Or if you are talking with friends na you trust the most or with friends who share the same culture as you have originally, hindi uuwi ka. Nandoon ka pa rin sa lugar na may bagong kultura o culture pero may public and private spheres within that place. Maliwanag ka, hindi yung babalik ka sa original place mo to practice your own culture. Nandoon ka pa rin sa host culture at within that host culture or host place, there are two spheres and these are your public and private spheres. Yung provide kong example sa video lecture natin, I am from Pangasinan and then I applied in DIMSU that's located in Agoo, La Union. In my workplace or in my office, I'm going to practice Ilocano culture while I am mingling with my colleagues or with my office mates there in Timso, for example. And then when I go home to my boarding house, but still located in Agoo, there I would manifest my behavioral practices as pure-blooded Pangasinense. Nakuha, hindi yung uuwi ka sa mo or doon sa original culture mo. Nakuha ba? Send reactions if you understood public and private sphere under accommodation. Okay. Now let's go to the fourth type of cultural adaptation, which is multiculturalism. Ano naman yun? Let's hear from Ricky Castro.
Hello, ma'am. I am audible po, ma'am. Hello po, ma'am. Marinig po ba?
Yes, audible. Ricky Castro, go ahead. Proceed.
Ma'am, pag sinabi naman natin multiculturalism, yun yung pinaka-the best among the five, ma'am. Kumbaga, siya yung pinaka mas importante sa kanilang lima, ma'am. Ganun po.
Okay, correct, Ricky. It's like there are no rules in multiculturalism. You are free to express yourself, manifesting your original culture because we are given the equal opportunity opportunity to present ourselves in the global arena or in the global village. Free tayo dyan. Ang ini-encourage dyan yung individual differences natin. There is unity in diversity, yung mga ganyang linyahan. Okay? For example, yung social media, that is a global village or that is a global arena kasi ang mga nandoon ay sari-saring mga races, the Filipino race, the Korean race, the Japanese race, the American race, and we are free to express ourselves, manifesting our culture, di ba? Bringing into that social media our original culture as Filipinos, as Koreans, as Americans, as Japanese, nang walang pakialamanan. So yun ang best type of cultural adaptation to me. Kasi all we have to do is to respect one another, appreciate differences, and let these differences unite us. Diba? The beautiful irony in differences, that is actually our biggest similarity. Yung pagiging different natin sa isa't isa, yan yung similarity natin. Lahat tayo may pagkakaiba-iba. Common differences, kumbaga. Okay? And then the last one, cultural separation, leave it to me to explain that. Cultural separation naman, you are separating yourself from the host culture kasi you believe that your original culture is the best. Meron kang tinatawag na ethnocentrism. Ibig sabihin, centered ka on your ethnicity. Okay? Pinapaniwalaan mo na your language is the best, your practices there are the best, your superstitions there are the best, your clothing there is the best, kaya hindi ka nakikisama doon sa host culture. Kaya from the word itself, separation. Okay, thank you class. My heart is full. Alam niyo naman kung paano ako pasayahin kapag inaaral ninyo yung mga video lectures natin. Kasi doon tayo nakakahabol ng lesson. Kahit hindi tayo nagmi-meet, kapag inaaral nyo yun, para na rin nahabol yung lesson. Anyway, I will not be checking the attendance. I will just leave it to King Paulo. I trust King Paulo. Send me the list of non-attendees or absentees natin ngayong meeting para sila lang yung mamarkahan ko ng 0 mamaya doon sa attendance sheet para hindi ko na kayo, ay, hindi, natawag ko na kayo sa isa.
Yes, ma'am.
Tisha girl. Anyway, ayan na. So I'll be sharing my PowerPoint presentation now and let's proceed with our discussion. Continuation of chapter 2, hoping we can finish this slides within the remaining time because we are until 3
Ma'am,
p.m.
permission to
this
speak po.
afternoon. Oh yes, who is that? Raise your hand.
Ma'am, Resuelio Dublin Claire po, ma'am. Ma'am, naliit po akong
Oh yes, Dublin.
join.
Ano,
Ma'am,
Dublin?
naliit po akong mag-join,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay, kapag ka-late, Dublin, to be fair with your classmates, 0 ka na doon sa attendance for this day lang naman. And don't worry kasi kapag ka sa computation, absence mo halos wala lang din impact yan. Unless absent ka ng dire-diretso, late ka ng dire-diretso, o wala kang points doon sa attendance. Pero to be fair with your classmates na pumasok ng maaga, hindi ko na babaguhin yun. It's already 2:18. Okay lang, Dublin, ha?
Yes po, ma'am. Thank you po.
Okay, sige. Ayan, let's continue with our discussion. Speaking of cultural differences, we have already done discussing the ways on how we can adapt to culture. Now, let's discuss naman the cultural differences along these 4 areas. So, we have leadership, work productivity, group allegiance, and then task commitment. In these 4 areas, class, we are different from one another because we manifest things related to leadership that are not similar or that are different from another. For example, King Paulo as a leader has different strategies or tactics in comparison to Jeneline Agbuya. Apple Cherry may have different work productivity strategies then or techniques on how she can work or how she can be productive doing all the activities as a student in comparison to Melody Barolo. Okay, so lahat tayo magkakaiba and the focus of these differences are along these 4 areas: leadership, work productivity, and then task commitment. Okay, let's proceed with the first area, leadership tayo. Here are the key characteristics on leadership, which are power, influence. So two kinds yan, 2 types of leadership, yung high power and then low power. Okay, for fun, this is just for fun. It's not a legitimate survey. Yung result dito ay hindi ibig sabihin na accurate. For fun lang. Raise your hand. And then papatunayan ko later kung tung tama. For fun lang, not necessarily factual talaga. Pero so far, from my previous handled sections and classes ay nagtugma nga. Okay, so who among you are or were in favor of BBM last election? Can you raise your hand? Ay, hindi yun yung question ko. The question was, then put down your hand, put down your Ano was my question? My question before. Okay. Who among you believes that leadership is power? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you believe that leadership is power. All right. Micaela and John Makatanta. I'll just be class because there are no wrong answers and this is just for fun. As I've said, the result of this survey will not really constitute to any factual information. It's just for fun. I will just make a point out of this informal survey. Okay, so we have Micaela, John Paul, Shena, Jasmine, Renaline, Nika, and Beverly, and Emmeline Goral. Leadership is power. Okay, put down your hands. We have 8 hands who responded to the survey. Okay, second question. Who among you naman believe that leadership is influence? Raise your hand. King Paulo, Jeric Solomon, Janelle Lagbuya, Jessica Macam, Mary Joy, John Paul, John Amir, Fred Nolasco, Mark Anthony, Ricky, Jeline, Mary Joy, Angeline, Mary Apple, De Los Santos, Tig Maria, and Melody Barolo. Okay, now put down your hands. Let me make my point. Again, this does not necessarily constitute to a factual result from the data you have provided me, pero here is the result. Those who recited leadership is power voted for BBM last election. Now confirm to me if it's true. And then those who recited leadership is influence voted for Lenny Robredo. Raise your hand if it's true or just microphone and then recite in chorus kung totoo. Micaela, totoo ba?
BBM.
Said that leadership is power doon sa tanong ko kanina.
Yes, ma'am. Kaya yung sabi niyo po, BBM.
Diba? Tama tayo. Tama tayo. How about King Paulo and Janlyn Nagbuya who recited leadership is influence? Did you vote for BBM or Lenny? Let me hear from Janelyn.
Ma'am, BBM po ako.
Ay, BBM, pero leadership is influence
Yes, ma'am.
yung
Pero ano rin.
ngayon. Okay. Diba? Hindi naman siya ganang factual, for fun lang. How about King Paulo?
Ma'am, BBM po.
BBM din. Okay, sige. Ito na, yung difference ng dalawang ito. When we say leadership is, here in high power, you believe that leadership is power. It means that you are making people move because of what you can do if they disobey. And then here in low power, you are making people believe because you have that sense of influence in yourself. You are making them move out of the influence that they see in you. Okay, out of the role model that they see in you. Okay? So yun ang main difference ng high power and low power. Leadership is power sa high power and then leadership is influence doon sa ating low power. Okay. Now here in the second area, work productivity. Here in your left portion of this slide, yung dito sa lalaki, aggressive or assertive behavior whose objective is success in competition and winning is rewarded with high honor. Okay. On the other hand, dito sa babae naman, gives primary consideration to modesty, quality of life, and tenderness. Rewards are given for work satisfaction and salaries are determined on need, not on production. Of course, I'll not be asking you which do you prefer between these two? Kasi naman siya sa pangalawa, di ba? Dapat yung boss natin, yung employer natin later on natin, he or she gives consideration to modesty, to quality of life, to mental health, to tend yung aggressive, tapos assertive na behavior. Mali yan, or dapat gawin mo to, dapat 100% etc. Diba? Like pushy na type of employer or boss. Tayo sa subtle and then working in silence or working in modesty and then gives importance to the mental health of the employee or of the person, di ba? O, syempre, hindi ko kayo tatanungin dyan kasi doon sa left portion ng ating slide, ito yung mga tipong pumapasok from Monday to Sunday, wala nang pahinga, ang focus lang nila dito ay puro completion, and then very aggressive, wala nang pahinga. Dito naman sa right side, may binibigyan importance yung tenderness, yung quality of life, yung work-life balance na tinatawag na. You have time for your family, you have time for your leisure, at hindi lang puro work. Okay, so that is the difference between these two work productivity cultures. Again, we're discussing about cultural differences along 4 areas. At second area na to sa work productivity. Okay. Dito naman tayo, nature of common cultural differences. Sa third area na tayo, group allegiance. We have individualism and then collectivism. Individualism says that the individual can change the standards of the culture, while in collectivism, you sacrifice everything for the sake of the group, and then from there you can change the culture. Okay, let me ask you, sino sa inyo dito noong anong year na pala kayo? First year, tama? First year, second sem?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, no first year, first sem ninyo, perhaps during the first day of school nyo dito sa campus natin, what was in your mind? Kayo ba yung tipo ng tao na I am going to show who I am and I wouldn't care what other would think of me or tell of me, I'll just show who really I am? And then it's up to you if you're going to accept my personality or not. Okay, sino yung ganon? Raise your hand. Sino yung walang pakialam sa sabihin ng iba? You have a very strong personality and you show who you are without really thinking of what others might say. Yung hindi ka nice. Ayan. Keep it on your hands. How about, kasi di ba we are talking about differences nga. Ito naman yung mga different personality ninyo. Ito naman yung kabaliktaran ninyo. So I saw 5 hands doon sa unang culture. Ito sa pangalawang culture naman, who among you are very concerned of what other people say and you adjust. Ayan, nag-a-adjust ka, nakikisama ka, you tend to please people kung anong gusto nila. Okay, we have Janeline. Who else? Come on, just be honest. Walang maling sagot. Ayan. So, mas marami yung second culture natin kaysa sa first culture. We have 15, 16. 16. And then 5 yung kanina. How about the 8 other students who are not participating? Ipapa-absent ko kayo kay King Paulo. Wala namang mali sa pagsagot. Hindi naman siya, I'm not asking for any factual information. I'm just asking you which between the two cultures do you belong? Pero hindi kayo nagre-recite. Siguro yourselves pa. Okay, anyway, let's continue. Thanks for those who are participating. So dun sa una kong tanong na those people who do not compromise, those people who show their true self, so hindi sila gaanong nakikisama or hindi sila gaanong nag-iisip ng kung anong sasabihin ng iba, basta ang importante sa kanila ay ipakita yung totoong sila, nasa individualism type of cultural difference kayo as far as group allegiance is concerned. So you are making yourselves belong in a group through this cultural difference type A, individualism. Okay. Nakikisama naman yung people pleaser, ayan, yung iniisip masyado kung anong sasabihin ng iba, nasa collectivism ka. Okay? And the last area under your differences, we have task commitment, we have high context cultures, and then low context cultures. So high context cultures resist change. So few changes are made since the belief is what was good enough for father and grandfather is good enough for me. And then so low context cultures work for the good of the cause, not for the welfare of the group. The focus is on the here and now and to get the job done. So change, growth, innovation are encourage doon sa low context cultures natin. So low context cultures, here and now, short-term goals. And then sa high context cultures naman, long-term goals. Okay, sa task commitment, for example, you are given a particular task, and then while you are doing it, ano yung minamanifest mo? Ginagawa mo ba ang isang trabaho na ang nasa isip mo ay yung long-term goal, yung ikabubutis ng pangmatan, or yung short-term lang, yung here and now? Ito yung kung paano ko gagawin yung task because this is what is good and this is what the moment requires. Low context culture yon. Siyempre, definitely, ang better dito ay high context culture. Yung pang long-term siya. Okay? The changes are made since the belief is what was good enough for father and grandfather is good enough for me. Okay? Okay, pero on a different angle, sa high context culture and low context culture, ang kabutihan naman sa low context culture, ang in-encourage kasi dito ay change, growth, and innovation. You are not content on what applied or what worked for before. Kasi 'di ba nag-iiba naman, nag-iiba ang needs, pangangailangan habang tayo ay nagka-transition from one period to another, from generation to another. Kaya dito sa low context cultures nag-i-innovate, our purpose is for growth and for change. Kasi sa high context culture was conventional, what was used to, kung ano yung nakasanayan, yun na yung ginagawa. Okay, so main difference between these two cultures under task commitment as an area. Pang-apat na yan. Okay, so I hope we're getting along with our discussion. Very easy to understand. Kumusta? How are you? Mag-meme muna tayo. Sabi ng nanay nyo, kumusta exam anak? Tipsy, but tipsy. Konting tama. Baka ganyan kayo sa midterm exam natin. Class. Sa exam na, tipsy ma? Sabi niya, anong tipsy? May konting tama. Tapos lahat mali na. Ito pa. Ba't ang baba mo sa first grading, anak? Warm up lang yun, ma. Warm up ka. Warm up ka mamaya sa akin. Bagsak ako sa midterms. Hala. Anyway, I have chismis. Sino ang ganyan sa inyo? Okay lang na bagsak. May chismis naman. Okay. Ito ang pinaka, 125, 15175 na grade. Ang talino ko talaga. Night-time, mga kapitbahay, presidents, deans, lista. First sem pa lang, sa first sem, first year, nasabi na niya sa mga kapitbahay na magsusumma cum laude siya. Tapos second sem na 2, na 225, na 25, na 275. Pwede na, hindi ako masyadong nag-effort Bawi next time. Bawi next life. 3, kinabahan ako doon. Buti sumabi. 3 lang sapat na. 5 grades are just numbers. Don't let it define your future. INC. Drop. Kanto. Life is not a race. Baka ganyan na ang mga life mantra ninyo after this sem. Me, after knowing my score, tuloy pa rin naman yung buhay. Hindi naman ang perfected. Sige. Ano ba yan? Okay, so let's continue with our discussion. Communicating within and across cultures, we have avoiding, accommodating, forcing, educating, persuading, negotiating, compromising, collaboration, and problem solving. This can be actually under your cultural adaptation kasi these are means or ways on how we can adapt to other culture. Pero specifically kasi, these are for communicating within and across cultures. Again, may I ask you, natanong ko na ata to sa inyo noong mga unang meetings natin, who among you have already tried chatting with people of different race? Let's say an American or a Japanese or a Korean or an Indiano. Mga nag-chat sa inyo ng mga Indiano. Okay, raise your hand. Regardless of the race, you don't have to tell me kung anong race nang nakausap mo or nakachat mo. Basta raise your hand if you have tried to converse with people of different race. So we have John Paul, Mikael, Anthony, Dublin, Apple, Janelle, Rowenaline, and Emmeline. Okay? Of course, ako din, Melody, Rhea, Nika, pero usually nami-meet ko naman sa academe kasi way back when kasi nung kami ay student sa DIMSU, we often have a classmate of different race, ASEAN from the ASEAN region. So yung mga naging kaklase namin ay mga Thailanders, mga from Thailand kasi part sila ng cultural exchange program ng and ng university sa Thailand. And we also tried having classmates who are Vietnamese. That nagkaroon din kami ng English fellows, yung mga American volunteers natin na pumupunta sa iba't ibang universities para mag-render ng kanilang service at mapabuti ang language acquisition ng mga second language learners natin. So lahat tayo ay second language learners kasi ang English ay second language natin, bukod doon sa native tongue natin. Okay, so here are the ways on how we communicate within and across cultures. Unahin na natin ang avoid, hindi wala siyang explanation. Okay, sige. Ito ko sa inyo and then I will provide example. Sa avoiding class, nag-chat sa'yo si Indian, linap mo or in-unfollow mo or in-unfriend mo or hindi mo pinansin, hindi mo na-replyan, that is avoiding. Okay, nag-chat sa'yo si Amerikano kasi mas gwapo kaysa kay Indiano, inako mo, 'di ba? Racist ka. Nung si Indiano, hindi mo pinansin. Nung si Amerikano, ni-replyan mo. Ang galing, no? Okay, that is accommodating. You replied, you entertained the chat, you entertained the question, you perhaps answered the question being asked in his or her chat in the accommodating. Forcing, kapag they blinak mo na nga and then they use another account pa to message you or to reach out to you, that's already forcing. They kind of coercing you to reply to them. Otherwise, they will bombard you with messages or with scams or they can hack you. Forcing na yon. Okay, yung pinagsasapilitan na nila yung sarili nila sa inyo, that's already forcing. Okay? Yung dati, lately lang naman kasi class yung hindi mo matatawagan ang isang tao kapag hindi kayo friends on Facebook. Dati, kahit na hindi kayo friends on Facebook, nadadial mo siya. Nakakairata, diba? So pag hindi mo sila nire-replyan, i-call ka na lang ng i-call para mairita ka, para mainis ka. Na-try nyo na yan? O siguro nasa era kayo na hindi ka matatawagan kapag hindi mo friend. Kasi ako, nadatnan ko, I think that was high school. Facebook ako, may high school na eh. High school ako, may Facebook na eh. Diba yan? Ayan. Facebook na, during that time, kahit na hindi mo friend, kaya kanyang tawagan. Okay? So, nakakairita. That's forcing. Okay? And then, educating persuading, sino sa inyo yung naka-receive ng mga promotional text or messages from insurance companies? Yung, hello, I am Mark Anthony Ferrer. I work at the insurance company, PRU Life, ganun. So, magpo-provide sila ng information about their company, perhaps the name of their company, the years, how they have been standing so long, the name of their CEO, and then the benefits that you get for you to be, aside from educated, for you to be persuaded of availing their services, availing their insurance services. O, diba? In-explain nila, nag-provide sila ng information about their company, nag-provide sila ng benefits kung mag-a-avail ka ng service, and then they will now ask you kung mag-a-avail ka na nung kanilang insurance service categories. So, for example, 2,000 per month, meron din namang 1,500. I never really responded to that. Hindi ko alam. May kabutihan naman talaga ang insurance, pero I personally believe kasi na mas magandang ilagay ko na lang sa bank, sa aking bank account kaysa sa insurance. I don't know why. Medyo wala akong trust sa mga, kahit naman legitimate sila. Actually, my aunt is an agent in Sun Life, yung #1 insurance company in the Philippines, followed by PRU Life. Ayan, insurance, Sun Life and then PRU Life, yan yung mga trusted na insurance companies. Pero either of them, I really don't entertain. Ayoko talaga. Okay, and then negotiating, compromising when our Philippine representative negotiate or talk to the Japanese ambassador for a certain project or for a certain investment here in the Philippines. That is what we call negotiating and compromising. Now, how does compromising exist or happen? Paano nangyayari ang compromising in a conversation? For example, two business people, nag-uusap yan. So that is negotiating, yung pag-uusap nila. And then compromising, ganito. The original plan was 70-30 ang hatian, syempre si second company and party na 30%, makiki-compromise yan, makiki-negotiate. Yan, sabihin niya, if you want me to agree with our terms and conditions, I would ask for you to at least allocate, instead of just 30%, make 30%. So instead of 70-30, 60-40. So may compromise na. Okay? That is negotiating, compromising in communication. Okay. Dapat natututunan nyo itong mga to kasi later on negotiate kayo, makikitransact kayo kahit nga ngayon kapag bumibili tayo sa Baratillo, for example, the type of communication that we are using among these 6 is yung negotiating, compromising. Nakikinagotiate tayo, how much is this po? 300 pesos, and then compromise, baka naman pwedeng 250 na lang. That is negotiating, compromising. And then number 6, collaboration and then problem. This exists in orientations, in workshops, in seminars, in consortiums, ayan, in research symposiums, ayan, collaboration, problem solving. So people from different countries gather together in one venue to talk about a certain matter, and then their purpose is to solve a problem, especially those people who are gathering in one seminar or in one workshop to address a certain problem or to work on a certain research study. That is collaboration, problem solving. Okay? Sige nga. Ulitin natin, avoiding, accommodating, forcing, educating, persuading, negotiating, compromising, and collaboration, problem solving. Raise your hand and then enumerate to me the 6 ways on how we can communicate within and across culture. Sige nga, sino nakaalala nung 6? Oh, yes, King Paulo.
Ma'am, number 1 yung avoiding, accommodating, forcing, tas educating, to persuading, tas negotiating, to compromising, and collaboration to problem solving po.
Okay. Now, I will give an example and then you raise your hand and determine which among the 4 does it fall under. Okay? Yung bibigay kong example, i-determine mo kung saan mag-fall under doon sa 6 na ways on how we can communicate within and across culture. Okay? So, ito yung example number 1. Mamili ka ito. Ito. An Indian provided information about their culture on how to eat properly. And then at the end of the text, the Indian asked you if you could join him for dinner. What is that type of communication within and across cultures? Is it avoiding, accommodating, forcing, educating, persuading, negotiating, compromising, or collaboration, problem solving? Raise your hand. Yes, Dublin, Claire.
Ma'am, ano po? Educating, persuading.
Okay, very good. Kung sabihin nyo avoiding, porkit Indiano avoiding, no? Racist kayo talaga, no? Pero very good. Tama. Educating, persuading yun at hindi siya avoiding kasi wala naman akong sinabi na hindi mo in-entertain. Okay, I think it's very understandable. It's very story. Ayan. O, do you want more examples para matest natin kung naintindihan? O, ito naman. Climate, ano ba? Ito pa, itong isang example. Ayan. Environmentally, 6 groups of environmentalists conduct a research on how to reduce the number of emission of carbon dioxide. Sige nga. Yes, John Paul Makatantan.
Ma'am, collaboration, problem solving po.
Okay, collaboration, problem solving. Very good. O, kasi nabanggit ko yung research. Pero kahit na hindi research actually, kahit na simpleng 6 groups of environmentalists meet each other at a park and talk about how they can reduce the number of dioxide emission. Kahit nawala yung research na term, collaboration problem solving din yun. Okay? Very easy, very good class. Let's proceed now with our discussion para matapos na natin ito. Okay, enumeration of guidelines lang. You'll just read this kasi very easy to understand naman. Guidelines on developing intercultural competence. Number 1, widen your field of experience, making new contacts. You will not grow if you keep on holding back yourselves. If you keep on settling in your comfort zone, you have to seek for people who are smarter than you. Talk to people who are smarter than you. Kasi kapag ang kausap mo lang ng mga tao, yung mga ka-level mo lang, hindi ka matututo. Dapat, you have to go out of your comfort zone and talk to people who have offer you wisdom, especially mga matatanda. Wisdom yung mga yan. So learn about history and the experiences and aspirations of people from different cultures. The only way to understand people class is to learn their cultural background, to learn their history, to learn their food preferences, their clothing preferences, yung kanila dating list of presidents ng kanilang bansa. Diyan mo makikilala ang tao because of their political, etc., in their country. Examine yourself for possible stereotypes. Ayan. Kaya ako pa hindi in-entertain si Indiano kasi Indiano siya. Ayan, di ba? Stereotype ka, racist ka. Pwede naman na i-entertain mo, di ba? Bakit si Amerikano in-entertain mo, si Indiano hindi mo in-entertain, no? Di ba? Intercultural competence. You are not interculturally competent if you have prejudices, okay? Pa lang nakikilala, gina-judge mo na. You already have prejudices in mind. So you will never be interculturally competent if you are not open-minded. Okay, look at the world from someone else's way of looking at and thinking about something, not just yours. Okay, be open. Varying perspectives. The world is not just about you. Not everything is about you. Okay, think of others too. Think of others' perception. Think of other angles rather than just your own. Work on becoming more self-confident, appreciate cultural similarities and differences, acknowledge the essential quality and value of all cultures, and lastly, be sensitive and interpret cultural styles and communication. Okay, there are communication styles which are extremely different, such that you think the manner of speaking of a person connotes anger, pero hindi. Ano yung manner of speaking na akala mo ay galit? Actually, mga Pangasinan, di ba? Mga Pangasinense. Ano naman yung manner of speaking na ang landi-landi, ang lambing-lambing, na kahit na yung galit na yung sinasabi, na kahit na yung sinasabi niya ay negative, malambing pa rin. Ano yan?
Sa Batangas.
Correct, sa Batangas. Mga Batanggenyo. Galit na sila pero ang lambing pa rin, 'di ba? In contrast to Pangasinense na kahit na sweet yung sinasabi natin, the manner we speak or present ourselves or produce the language ay ang tigas-tigas, tapos yung facial expression natin, and then yung mabilis kasi magsalita kaya akala nila galit. So be sensitive and interpret cultural communication. What you see is not really the reality or what should be. Ganun. Dapat ini-interpret mo at inaaral mo yung iba't ibang varying cultural styles of communication. Okay, now barriers naman to effective international communication, ethnocentrism, yung sa cultural separation, meaning you believe that your culture is the best, you are centered on your ethnicity, that is why you are not open to learning new things or to makisama. Ethnocentrism yan. Stereotypes and prejudices, yung ayaw mo yung Indiano kasi maanglit siya. Stereotypes and prejudices yan. Sorry na. Okay. And then, stereotypes, prejudice, assumed similarities. Ito. If I may give you an example, si John, kunwari, ay from an eastern country, si John. And then, sa eastern country niya, sa pinanggalingan niya, uso sa kanila or practice nila or behavior nila na kapag may nakikilala bagong tao or visitor, for example, regardless of babae or lalaki, they beso-beso. They kiss the cheeks, di ba? Nagbe-beso-beso sila to welcome the newcomer, to welcome the new person or the new people. Yun ang practice sa Eastern country. Ngayon, si John na from the Eastern country visited a Western country, let's say, America. Ngayon, nasa isang venue sila and then nadala ni John yung culture niya. Bineso-beso niya yung mga babae doon. And these women were startled, they were shocked, they were offended. Kasi, bakit mo ako halikan sa pisngi? Bakit ka makikipagbeso-beso sa akin? Kakakita ko lang sa'yo ngayon. Kakakilala ko lang sa'yo ngayon. That is what we call assumed similarities. John nag-assume si John na yung practice niya sa kanyang Eastern country ay applicable sa Western country. Okay, enough for your laughs kasi I'm serious, okay? Hindi na yun nakakatawa kayo talaga. Anyway, ganon. That is true kasi, class. The story is true. Or the example is a very good example to discuss or to explain assuming similarities. So you're from your original culture and then there is a practice in your original culture that you carried over or you brought it to the new culture or to the whole na hindi naman applicable doon yung practice na yon. So, naging unsuccessful ka na, naging ineffective na yung international communication mo kasi aayawan ka na or na-startle na, na-shock na, na-offend yung mga pakikicommunicatean mo sana because of that non-verbal gesture, yung kissing or hugging na practice mo from your original culture na hindi naman applicable sa host culture. So that is what we call assumed similarity. And then of course, anxiety, we all know this. Definitely, it can be a barrier to effective international communication, especially if you think of yourself as the lower version or you think of yourself as the underdog. For example, we are Filipinos and we think of ourselves as underdogs of the Americans. And so when we are communicating with them, we tend to be intimidated, we tend to lose our mind, we tend to tawag doon, stutter, ayan. Hindi tayo makapagsalita ng diretso kasi ang kausap natin Amerikano. Kasi yung thinking na, very anxious tayo. May anxiety tayo na, kapag Amerikano, ibig sabihin maganda, matangkad, matalino, maraming alam. Tapos ako Pilipino, ako maliit, pangit, maitim, nahihiya. So, nag-hinder na siya ng international communication. Okay? Barrier to effective communication. Okay. That's ethnocentrism, stereotypes, and prejudices. Ayan. Okay. So, meron siyang isa-isang example. I-upload na lang natin itong PowerPoint na to para mabasa ninyo. Pero yung mga sinabi ko, yun na mismo yung explanation niya. Okay? Ano ba tong meme na ito? Ako singil, bigla sila ubo. Okay, I think that's the end of our chapter 2 class. O, di ba, nakuha natin siya ng 50 minutes. Okay. Ayan na. Any question, class? Question. I have a question. Why are we talking about global cultures? Definitely, because this chapter is about globalization and we need to understand the different cultures of many countries for us to be effective in our international communication or international communication, because there will be a time in our life wherein it calls for our intercultural competence. Parang kami dati nung I worked in PSA, nakwento ko na yun sa inyo, the developers of the national ID system were Indians. So we talked to them, we negotiated with them. Okay, trivia lang pala, yung kapalpakan sa national ID system, sa tingin namin, theory lang namin na sinasadya ng mga Indians yun para magbayad ang Pilipinas para sa update. Hindi na gumagana yung feature na yun kasi kailangan i-update 300,000. Ganun lagi yung hanas nila. So naiinis ang PSA ngayon. Pero kasalanan din nila kasi ang bidder ay Filipinos and nilang Indians. Sino bang mas magaling, 'di ba? Filipinos or anyway, Ayan, trivia lang naman yun. Okay, so the point is, there will be a time in your life, perhaps in the future, which will call for your intercultural competence. Na kapag pinoprocess mo yung mga barriers na yan, definitely you will not become successful in your intercultural communication. That is why you should overcome anxiety, you should overcome your prejudices, you should overcome your anxiety and your assumption of similarities. Okay, do you have any questions, class? If you have any questions. Tapos na natin ang chapter 2. Para malinis tayo, baguhin ko na lang, I will take back my original plan of discussing chapter 3 for next week. Mag-quiz tayo next week para malinis. Bago tayo mag-chapter 3, malinis na. Quiz tayo ng chapter 2 kasi napag-alaman ko naman na ang midterm exam ay April 21 pa. So, hindi naman siya 11. April 21 or 25, basta along those dates. So, may 2 weeks or 3 weeks pa tayo para sa 3, 4, 5. Kayang-kaya pa. Okay? So, quiz muna tayo bago yung chapter 3. Okay? And then, video lectures, alam nyo na yan, para mahabol natin. Yun na kung hindi nyo papanoorin. Kasi ako yun hindi naman ako nag-send sa inyo ng video na hindi ako yung nagdi-discuss. Lugi kayo kapag nag-send ako ng video na hindi ako yung nagdi-discuss kasi hindi ko ako na magturo. Pero ako yun I'm exerting an effort to record, di ba? Para may send sa inyo. Okay, anyway, if you don't have any more questions, please open your camera and then let's
Ma'am, ilan pong
take
items
our
yung ma'am?
photo.
Please po.
Okay, sa chapter 2 class pala na quiz ninyo, kung maalala ninyo yung unang-una na video na sinend ko, yung recycled video ko, yung from the past semester, kasali yun ha? Kasali yun sa quiz. Baka ang i-review nyo itong 90 slides lang. Definitely, maraming manggagaling dito sa 90 slides kasi ito yung pinaka-center ng chapter 2 discussion. Pero yung unang-unang sinend ko sa inyo na recycled video, may mga items din doon. So please lang, panoorin ninyo. Always send a screenshot as a proof doon sa GC natin. Automatic na yan. Kasi minsan yun din yung reference ko ng attendance ninyo. Okay? O sige na, open your camera na. And Janine Aguya will take our picture with our signature pose. Wait, talaban ganito, triangle. Okay, ready, Janine. Janeline, wag together mode. Pangit yung together mode. I-large gallery mo lang. Large gallery. Pangit yung together mode.
Large gallery pero tatlong page po siya, ma'am. Hindi ko mapagkasya sa isang page.
Okay lang. I-ano mo na lang. Next page mo. Ganun. Okay?
Okay, one.
Okay, ready?
Wait lang. Wait lang. 1, 2, 3, smile. Next. 1, 2, 3, smile. Last. 1, 2, 3. May mga hindi naka-open ka. 1, 2, 3,
Oo, si Mark
smile.
Anthony, hindi naman siya nag-ano.
Last na po.
Hindi siya
1, 2, 3, smile.
Word, sabi ni Mark Anthony. What's up, Word, with this signature post kayo talaga? Signature post natin yan sa section natin. Okay, thank you very much for your time, class. Please mag-aral mabuti, mag-review para next week quiz na tayo bago ang inyong bakasyon. Wala na kayong iniisip. Okay, kung yung first quiz ninyo ay 65, sa tingin ko 70 or 80 yata yung chapter 2. Oh, di ba? Good luck! Bye! Have a good day.
Thank you po.
Bye, ma'am.
I'm meeting now. Sige.